Hello, my name is Naoki Ross, and I am aspiring history teacher at the high school level. So my professional standards of teaching will be presented with an emphasis in social studies or the humanities. So for my first slide, comparing the InTask and the SPA standards, effective teachers analyze teaching standards within a state or jurisdiction in order to successfully and effectively encourage learning. The Interstate Teaching Assessment and Support Consortium and Specialized Professional Association Standards, or SPA standards, offer teachers guidelines for effective teaching. I believe, or it is a teacher's responsibility to analyze, to study, to understand these standards in order to be an effective teacher, to be a good teacher, and to understand how to run a classroom. Um, to compare the two standards and to find similarities, Standard 2 of the SPA standards and Standard 7 of the InTask standards both emphasize a need to plan out lessons to encourage ambitious learning. The SPA and the InTask emphasize, or the standards need to emphasize a need to be knowledgeable about current events and public issues of the modern day to help bridge the gap between the past and the current day. The ability to bridge this gap allows social studies to have more relevance within the mind of a learner. So, for example, when learning about like a presidential election from the 1800s, to make comparisons to presidential elections that occur today, like the Trump Biden, the Trump Clinton elections, that students might be more familiar with, especially those who are in high school who are 16, 17, or 18 years old who are able to vote. Standard 4 of the SPA and Standard 3 of the InTask standards both emphasize understanding backgrounds of each student, and that includes their cultural background, their socioeconomic background. Certain topics within history can potentially be more personable to certain students depending on race, gender, or ethnicity. Making curriculum more personable makes lessons more memorable, which is more impactful. Teachers should also be able to survey classes and identify what topics should be covered in more depth, in more detail. For example, teaching in school districts closer to Los Angeles or the Inland Empire, it might be important to focus on Latino or Hispanic heritage and culture and oppression through the 50s. Or potentially, if you're in a school district that has a higher Asian population, you might want to emphasize Asian discrimination through the 1800s, or the early 1900s, and into the modern day. This might not be as impactful when teaching to classrooms predominantly of other races. So a teacher being able to understand the classroom and maybe a class ethnicity will be more would be effective in focusing on those ethnicities throughout history. For example, teaching about segregation might be different in the South than it would be here in California. Two different types of races were segregated, but both offer the same teaching points that cover curriculum. Let's continue to next slide. So both the InTask and SPA standards emphasize collaboration. The InTask standards focus on collaboration on a macro level across or within a school district. SPA standards focus on collaboration on a micro level within a classroom. So InTask will encompass working with other schools, working with colleagues in the same department, working with other teachers on campus, and then working with the students, whereas SPA standards really focus on collaboration within a classroom. So a student-teacher or a student-student level. InTask collaboration emphasizes with the entire school system. So some quotes from the standards, it says teachers must or should work with other school professionals to plan and jointly facilitate learning on how to meet diverse needs of learners. Teachers must engage collaboratively in a school-wide effort to build and share a shared vision and supportive culture, identify common goals, and monitor and evaluate progress towards those goals. InTask incorporates entire school districts within their goals of collaboration. Collaboration interconnects with other schools, colleagues, and families. This type of collaboration includes standardized curriculum across school districts. It also encourages teachers to build relationships with families and build a community. I noticed that in task, when focusing on collaboration, um, it has it has the specific purpose to build community within a classroom. When you collaborate with peers, it offers different perspectives than it would a teacher lecturing to students, and that in and of itself can build community, um, especially if these lessons tie into maybe ethnicity and the history behind someone's ethnicity. History can become very personable, and when it becomes personable, that is when these relationships and this sense of community can be established. As for SPA collaboration, the SPA standards encourage collaboration between students within a classroom. Um, Standard 4B of the NCIS National Standards for the Preparation of Social Studies Teachers quotes, candidates facilitate collaborative, interdisciplinary learning environments in which learners use disciplinary facts, concepts, and tools, engage in disciplinary inquiry, and create disciplinary forms of representation. What does this mean? It emphasizes alternate learning styles, and by alternate learning styles, I mean informal interactions. This forces students to engage in collaborative work where students take in different perspectives from their peers that can stimulate learning. Collaboration between peers encourages informal interactions compared to lectures proctored by teachers. These informal interactions help students articulate opinions and formulate argumentation that promotes learning. For example, in more diverse classrooms, the perspective of one might differ from another. When these two arguments clash, and there is discussion, that encourages growth and learning. So that is something that you get outside of a teacher lecturing, whereas a teacher only has one perspective, and um, it can be difficult to share other perspectives as a teacher without a certain bias. So by encouraging collaborative work, you are encouraging biases, which encourages learning about different types of arguments or different opinions. So advancing the profession, both the SPA standards and the InTAS standards both emphasize advancing one's career within teaching or the profession. So learning to be a better teacher does not stop after a credential or a master's program. InTask encourages teachers to continue their education and advance their profession by seeking knowledge by less traditional means. This type of learning does not take place, or it does not take place inside of a university classroom, rather through experiences. Excuse me. Um, this type of learning is more informal. It does not require a professor or an instructor lecturing or offering feedback. Rather, it can take place in other forms, such as seeking consultation or seeking constructive criticism from someone else. To quote in task, teachers should encourage in ongoing learning opportunities to develop knowledge and skills in order to provide all learners with engaging curriculum and learning experiences based on local and state standards. In other words, state standards constantly change, and it's our responsibility as teachers to learn these adaptations, to learn these new additions, and to learn what has been updated based off of previous standards. And an inability to do so is an inability to teach effectively. Another way in which teachers can advance the profession is teachers should, quote, actively seek professional community and technological resources within and outside the school as supports for analysis, reflection, and problem solving. In other words, teachers should seek constructive criticism from peers and superiors to refine their profession. Criticism and being able to reflect on one's own work is very important within the community or within a classroom. The in task encourages seeking others to refine your craft. Is bouncing ideas and problems off coworkers and superiors benefits not only the teacher but also the students who learn from the constructively criticized lectures. And that is the end of my presentation. Here are my references. Thank you.